Hi, and welcome to another episode of Kahawa Nagowi. Conversations you want to have with your pastor, but you don't have with your pastor. You can have them right here with me, Gowi Marco Dinge. And we are continuing this series on issues that are pertinent to you podcast listeners. And I want to say thank you very much on your continued support on what we have been trying to cover on this podcast. We are starting off with this podcast on marriage. And to start it off is my good friend, Ernest.
Hi, Gory.
Ernest Wamboye, karibu sana.
Nice to have you. Nice to have me.
You're welcoming me onto my podcast.
Nice to have me.
Nice to have you on
Nice
the
for you
podcast.
to have me on
Yes.
your podcast. I'm so used to hosting people.
Yeah.
It feels weird being hosted.
It's okay, man.
Yeah.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank
You're
you.
right here. And I'm curious in many ways to just get this conversation going
Yes.
about marriage and all that. But for the benefit of those who are listening,
Yes.
just say briefly a little about yourself and who you are.
Thank you, Gory.
Yeah.
So my name is Ernest,
Mhm.
Ernest Wamboye. I am a follower of Jesus Christ. I am a husband. Been married for the past 12 years to my wife, Waturi. And I'm also a father, 3 children, Tandy, Ivana, Theo, ages 8, 6, and 2.
Yo, man.
Yeah,
8.
8, 6, and 2.
They're 8 already.
No. They're turning 8.
Oh, I was like, you have 8 kids.
No. Turning 8, turning 6, turning 2.
All right, yeah.
Man, 8 kids. That'd
Yeah.
be crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, the Luya in me. Yeah. Yeah, so the 3 children, Tandy is 8, Ivana is 6, Theo is 2. They're all
Yeah.
turning those ages respectively this
Yeah.
year. And I run a ministry called the Relationship Center, which is an organization that defends conservative family values. So under the umbrella of the Relationship Center, we run a pornography addiction recovery program for men and one for women. The men's program is called Powerhouse. The women's is called Girl Power. And we run a marriage enrichment center. We have a singles ministry called Boy Meets Girl. And we're also online. So you can find us on our award-winning blog, penstrokes.co.ke, and our podcast, the Relationship Center podcast.
Dude,
Yes.
I just asked you just to say a little about yourself.
Oh,
Now I'm looking
man.
back and I'm like, I wish I could summarize what I do like you do, man.
I actually rehearsed that.
You rehearsed
I
that.
did.
And so that now that's what you keep on saying. yeah?
Yes. It really helps just, and also it helps me also just give a comprehensive outlook of what I do to people,
Yeah.
what I do when I meet people. So yeah, you could
I'll
you
take
could
that.
do that.
I'll take that from
You
you,
could.
man.
You
I
could.
take that from you. I
Yeah.
need to rehearse those.
Yeah.
But dude, the content that we are going to be doing on
Yeah.
this series I think is very weighty.
All right.
And I want to be able to do this, and especially to you who are viewing this thing, there's a certain basis that we have, and that is we want to talk about truth.
Yeah.
And I feel it is important that we do that here.
Mhm.
And there's a basis of our truth, and that is our belief in the Bible.
Yes.
And allow me just to make that context,
Yes.
and also invite God to this particular conversation
Sure.
we're going to have, and subsequent guests.
Mm.
Father, for the few moments I have with Ernest, and the many more guests who will come and speak on this, may your truth come out even more. Amen.
Amen.
Dude, you've been married how long now?
It's gonna be 12 years this year.
12 years.
Yeah.
You didn't invite me for your wedding, man.
I didn't know you then.
No, I did.
No, really.
Yeah.
No,
I knew
Gory,
you.
I knew you afterwards.
I knew you before you got married.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You sound like the Lord. You knew me before I knew. You knew before I was formed in
So
my
I
mother's
wasn't
womb.
invited to your wedding. You know,
Really?
I'm getting to realize, you know when you think you know people and then you don't, like you don't get an invite.
No, if I knew you then I would say from a distance, but
Maybe
not
that's the thing. So
personally.
this is me who's thinking that
Yeah.
we are supposed to know one
Yeah.
another. But you've been married 12 years.
12 years, yeah.
And so we are embarking on a conversation
Mhm.
about marriage.
Mm.
And the things that especially this emerging generation are dealing with in marriage.
Mhm.
And imagine you're the guy setting the pace for this, man.
I hope so.
Yeah. And so let's talk about this, Ernest.
Mhm.
My first question to you is, how does your generation view marriage? You're a millennial.
Yes, I am.
So what is your worldview about marriage?
yeah.
Mm.
I think if you ask me, millennials want to get married.
Yeah.
Millennials are passionate about marriage.
Yeah.
And let me say, especially in the African setup,
Yeah.
African urban setup,
Yeah.
there's still a lot of hope for marriage. And I say this because even when I look at the kind of programs that we run and the kind of mail that we get, there's a lot of hope. Despite the frustrations, the struggles, I would say there's a lot of hope. But then at the same time, there's almost equal and opposite disillusionment force against the whole idea of marriage. And that disillusionment is coming from what others have seen happening in millennial marriages. Uh, Guys divorcing just after 2 years, guys divorcing after 3, 4 years, not making it to the fifth year. A lot of these cases have to do with infidelity. Some of them just have to do with what Kenyans often call irreconcilable differences.
What are those irreconcilable differences?
I wanted to ask you the same question because I listen to them,
Yeah.
and perhaps it's just me, but I kind of just feel like, no, guys, you can fix that. You can fix that. I think
That you can actually fix that.
I strongly believe they can be fixed.
Okay.
If you ask me, I would say most of the irreconcilable differences come from the backdrop of being overly saturated with, should I call it, meology? Okay?
Meology.
Meology. All about me. Conversations, thoughts, discussions that are heavily focused on the individual. And this started off really well, because if you ask the average millennial, they would tell you they looked at the marriage of their parents and they were like, no, I don't want that. I feel like, mom, you didn't pursue your dreams. I feel like, dad, you didn't stand up for yourself. I feel like there's a lot that you sacrificed. I feel like there's a lot that you could be. And so the millennials look at that and they go like, we're not going to make the same mistakes. So what am I going to do? I'm going to focus on me. I'm going to make sure that I get out the best of me. And there's good to that. However, it's been extended to a fault. And it's come to the degree that the excessive focus on self has affected how their marriages operate. And if you've been married for a while, you know that it is impossible for any marriage to thrive if you're intensively self-focused.
Okay, so let's unpack this.
Yeah.
A good percentage of this audience are not married.
Okay.
So explain that meology kind
All
of
right.
thing. Yes.
So, I mean,
They might not be aware of it even, but
Yeah.
explain what meology is. Because
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying.
So let me just speak it out like this. Our generation is having more therapy and more cases to do with mental health than any previous generation.
Mhm.
The cases of mental health issues, depression issues are astronomically higher in our generation than previous generations. Okay. And there is a call to take care of yourself. There's a call to focus on self-care, which is a good thing.
Yes, I was going to say self-care.
Self-care,
Yes.
and that message has been shouted from the rooftops, very loudly. Take care of yourself, take care of your well-being, take care, and people are doing that. But the question is, why isn't it corresponding with lower depression cases? Why isn't it corresponding with lower anxiety cases?
I hope you're not asking me. That's a rhetorical
So it's a
question.
rhetorical
Okay,
question.
cool.
Oh, sorry. It was rhetorical. It was rhetorical. Okay. So it's almost as if the solution is not working. So
Okay.
therapy is good. It can help you get out of, trauma, real, serious personal challenges you're facing. However, and I would say this in a recent conversation with a friend, we just couldn't help but note how psychological terms are thrown very carelessly in our everyday conversations. When people say, this person is antisocial, if you look in the world of psychology, an antisocial person is an unagreeable person, someone who is not really pleasant to be around
Yes.
with. It's a serious medical, let me say, psychological condition.
It's off the scale.
You're
Yes.
off. You're not. But we use antisocial to like, this person is an introvert. We use that to discover an introvert. And when we say OCD. Someone's got OCD. OCD is a real condition, And I think the excessive focus on self has made us trivialize some of the real conditions that people are going through. And I feel that it's very possible that there could be people who are going through some conditions in our generation, and yet we are simply covering that with self-care,
So
focus on me, focus on you. There's a lot of focus on self.
all right.
Okay.
So what informs that? What is the worldview? Has the worldview changed of this generation
Mhm.
from my generation? I'm a Gen X,
Yeah.
all right. And has it changed from us?
Yes.
What do you think was, and what do you think is?
I think the average Gen X are moving up, going up to the older generations, like our folks, our parents.
Mm.
We're often taught that when you get married, you must consider your society. There was a social consideration of the world around you. Okay. When you wanted to end a marriage, those social consideration of the investment that people have put into that marriage.
Mm.
Okay. So when you come to a generation, guys go like, hey, it doesn't matter how many people attended your wedding. This is your marriage. You're the one who's going through that. And they're right.
Mhm.
Okay. However, it's been extended to issues that can be reconciled.
Mhm.
It's been extended into issues that can that can be sorted out. So you find that I'm having a disagreement with my wife, I'm having a disagreement with my husband, and it's something I can reconcile. But I pull that card, I kill a mosquito with a hammer,
Mm.
and so the card of we're not gonna have the marriage of our parents. They were oppressed, they were pushed down, they were trodden upon, they were abused, and yes, that's good, but we are overdoing it.
So if we are moving on, moving forward, I think
Mm.
for me, I've had I've been trying to do an audit on how many weddings that I've done,
Uh-huh.
and I've done well over 100,
Okay.
100, maybe 120 to 140 weddings.
Mhm.
I've officiated them,
Okay.
and most of them, I would like to say, most of them are still together.
That's good. That's amazing.
Most of those marriages are still together, and
And did you also work with them?
no,
Not
no,
necessarily.
no, no.
Yeah.
That I don't have the
The
gift of the
capacity.
patience. But in many ways, I would say yes. Those are, and I don't claim any credit to that.
Mm.
However, the ones that I recently did, and so
Yes.
that's within the past 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
Those are the majority of those ones.
Mm.
A good number of the majority of the cases of marriages failing or
Mm.
ending are
Mm.
in the ones that I did in the last 5, 10 years.
Mm.
And those are much younger people.
Those are my people.
Those are your
Yeah.
people.
So, I mean, just back to what you had asked me, I would say Gen Xers moving up have been brought up to view marriage not just for themselves, but also as a necessary part of a fully functional society.
You mentioned this in our when we were talking about these things,
Yeah.
that there's a consumer mindset and there's a covenant mindset.
Exactly.
So just explain.
So, I mean, if you take time and really study marriages all around the world, you'll really find that ideally there are two kinds of views.
Mhm.
You either have a consumer mindset or a covenant mindset.
Mhm.
A consumer mindset is me coming to a marriage and asking, what about me?
Mhm.
What do I get out of that? What do I benefit out of that? How do I put in as little effort as possible, but maximize as much benefit as possible?
Mm.
All right. And so, just like a company that wants to make profit,
Yes.
fewer employees, but
Yes.
maximum
Just
revenue.
decrease the operations cost.
Exactly.
But maximize, how much you can get.
And
Yes.
so, I believe many millennials are coming in like that.
Yes.
I don't want to stress me. I don't want to break a sweat.
Yes.
So I want to look cute and fabulous.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that that's enough that I'm bringing to the table.
Yeah.
And surely the other person, seeing who I am, must reciprocate and do something for me.
So that's a consumer mindset. So what
the
is
covenant mindset
covenant
is that I
mindset?
come into a relationship and I focus on the other person. I ask, what about them?
So do you lose yourself, or when you focus on some?
Yeah. So
Do you
now,
lose yourself?
so my generation will think that if I do that, I will go back to the abusive relationship of my parents.
Yes.
But it's not necessarily true.
Okay.
It's not an either
So
or.
unpack that
It's a
for me,
both and.
kidogo.
So basically, in a covenant mindset, And this is straight from scripture, that God makes a covenant with his people. And God, let me talk about the first covenant God made. Okay.
Yes.
Not necessarily the first one, but one big one. The covenant that God made with Abraham. God tells Abraham, I'm going to make you a great nation. I'm going to do these things. Your descendants are going to be as many as the stars.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this. And then what does he do? He has Abraham cut up some animals,
Yes.
lay them on the side.
Yeah.
And in that Middle Eastern tradition,
Yeah.
when you make an agreement with someone,
Yeah.
and the animals are cut, so you walk through those animals,
Yeah.
and you're basically saying, if I don't keep my end of the bargain, may this also happen to me.
Yes.
And so I'm imagining Abraham is thinking, God is God.
Yeah.
I'm the one who's the weak one here.
Yeah.
And so he's expecting me to walk through the animals.
Yeah.
But what happens when you read the book of Genesis? God is the one who walks through the covenant,
Yeah.
through the dead animals,
Yeah.
you know? And it's as if God is telling Abraham, I'm going to fulfill my part of the bargain, even if you don't.
Mm.
And that's a covenant where you're saying, I'm going to be intensely focused on you, and I'm going to serve you, and I'm not going to try and bail out if you don't do your part.
Yeah.
I'm going to be focused on doing the best that I can do.
So this, you think this is what informs marriage?
Yes.
That more and more subsequent generations, they're getting into marriage more as a consumer
and less than a covenant.
Yeah.
And what we don't know is that if you come in with a covenant mindset, if you marry well, what happens is that the other person will reciprocate that. And you've got two people who are serving one another. Okay.
Yeah.
So the late Dr. Timothy Keller, in his book, The Meaning of Marriage, he says the average consumer mindset looks like this. A man and a woman get married.
Yeah.
When they get married, they discover things.
Yes.
Discovery number one, you discover, hey, my spouse is really, really selfish.
Yes.
What? Okay, I knew they were a bit selfish, but not to this level.
Yes.
It's as if marriage puts a magnifying glass and things are blown out of proportion,
yes.
Amplified.
Yeah.
So whatever teaspoons you are getting in dating are now bucketfuls in marriage.
Yes.
And you can't stand that selfishness.
Yeah.
You also make a second discovery that, hey, you two are very selfish. Go like, hey, by the way, I'm also selfish. But you make a strategy, you come up with a strategy, you say, but my selfishness is not that serious. My partner's selfishness is a more urgent issue to deal with than my own selfishness. So what am I going to do? I'm going to focus all energy, all resources, all time to fix them.
Yes.
Then if we do have anything left, I'll devote that to me.
First,
wonderful me, cute me.
First discovery.
Awesome me.
First discovery. That's interesting. First discovery,
my partner is selfish.
Second discovery is
I am also selfish.
I'm also selfish.
But it's not that serious.
But my wife or my husband, whichever, is their selfishness is more important than
it's urgent.
It's urgent.
In fact, it's urgent. It's not just important, it's urgent.
Okay.
Must be addressed now.
All right.
What you don't know is that there's a third discovery.
Yes.
That your partner has made the same discoveries.
Of you.
That you are selfish, intensely selfish, and they are moderately selfish.
So what I'm discovering,
your partner is also discovering. And you don't know that.
Yes.
And what do? They employ the same strategy. They come in to the marriage and saying, I'm going to fix this selfishness so that I have my happily ever after. And you've got two people who are trying to fix one another so that they can get maximum benefit with little input. That's a consumer mindset.
Wow. So what are the models of marriage that millennials and Gen Z have? You're there. How have we, who are older, modeled marriage to you guys?
Yeah. So I would say there has been, I really appreciate how the church today has been intentional in addressing marriage problems compared to the past. More could be done, okay? But I must appreciate the efforts done so far. Recently, Pastor M of Mavuno invited me to speak at Ndoa Fest. They were having a marriage festival.
Yes.
And I looked at the turnout and they invited singles. I mean, I just thought, this is amazing. Talk to singles about marriage before they get married. That's amazing. All right.
It's best you do it on the other side of I do.
Yeah.
Because when you start talking about it, it's too late.
Yeah, because before you get married, you've got the freedom to choose your mate.
Yes.
But after you get married, your only option is to love whom you choose.
Yes.
So I love that there's some of those initiatives coming up, and I consider that as mentorship, okay? But happening on a macro level.
Yes.
I don't think that kind of mentorship is happening on a micro level.
Can it really happen? You see, the thing is, I mean, kudos to what Pastor M is doing at Mavuno, but we can't I mean, have you ever been to a bakery? Do you know how many loaves of bread they make? Okay.
We
Do you know how
love to
many
eat. We love
yeah.
to eat the
You know how
bread.
many loaves of
Yeah,
bread they
yeah.
but that small cake, that birthday cake for me is
Mm.
made specifically for me in
Yeah.
itself. So that's what I hear you saying. You
Yes.
can make many loaves of bread,
Mass produce. Yeah.
but then that birthday cake for Ernest is made specifically for Ernest. So is that possible?
One, it's the way the Christian faith got to where it is today.
Mm,
When Christ came down,
mm,
he didn't have mass crusades.
mm.
He focused on baking 12 cakes.
Yes.
One went bad.
Yes.
Okay. And the 11 that went well
Yeah.
are what brought us to where we are today.
Yeah.
And when he left, I mean, it's almost as if he's so sure the 11 managers I've left behind are going to do a great job. I think we really underplay the strength of one-on-one fellowship with mentors and the power it has to really transform the world.
What
So I'll tell you personally.
for you? That's what I was going to ask. For you, was it modeled?
For my wife and I,
Yeah.
when we were getting married, we saw a few older people that we liked, specifically like my uncle and my auntie. Okay, those are the Mokoles, Dr. Stanley and Patience Mokole. We saw them.
You had to name
And
drop there.
we
You had to name drop.
had to, sorry.
It's okay, man.
Family,
I have a lot of respect to you. Yes.
He does a good job.
He does a good job, yes.
And we saw that we went after them. We went after them. They were teaching classes, they were teaching big classes, but we pursued them and told them, Turi and I, we want this for us, you know? And we were even this close to asking them to be our best couple. But it's just that culture, he's my uncle, that couldn't happen. But we pursued them. And they invite us to their home and we'd sit with them. We'd go through a book. The book was The DNA of Relationships by Dr. Gary Smalley. And we'd go through it, you know, Sunday
So
after
they
Sunday.
mentored you and they have been open to model for you. What I'm hearing you say is that there is an effort that the millennials need to be able to do.
We reached out to them, by the way.
Okay, so that's something that you did. What
Yeah.
is like our responsibility? Who are older, what do you think we have done or have not done in modeling marriages, healthy marriages?
I think one, there's been little vulnerability concerning the struggles of marriage.
Yeah.
And so I think many millennials are going through problems and they think it's the end of the world. Well,
Yeah.
it's not.
Yeah.
They're going through trouble and they think it's do or die.
Mhm.
I think we need more vulnerability. We need more openness. We need more Gen Xers and older people to really just tell us the truth concerning the struggles they're going through. We've been privileged, I would say, to now mentor the younger generation coming up just through openness. In the books we've written, in the blogs, in the podcasts we've had, we've talked about the issues. In the premarital class we teach, we bear our lives, you know, and I think that's a very necessary component of really helping people understand that marriage can actually work. That, hey, you've gone through this and it's possible. I feel not Gen X. Gen X. I feel Gen X could do that a bit more.
So there's a vulnerability we need to be able to have more in modeling what marriage truly is.
Yes.
What the cost and benefit of a covenant marriage is.
Yes.
And what's the cost and benefit of a consumer mindset marriage?
Yes.
Okay. Now there's an analogy you gave, which I think was just amazing. And I want to preempt you about it, about how women view marriage and how men view marriage. And you use the analogy of
the marathon.
of a marathon.
Yes.
Please just unpack that for me before we start winding down.
Yeah. So I borrowed that from Gary Thomas's book.
Yeah.
It's called A Lifelong Love.
A Lifelong Love. Yes.
And in his book, he says that, and I believe this is another reason why millennial marriages are failing.
Yeah.
And how they can undo that.
How they can redeem it.
Yeah. He says in any marriage, there is a power shift. Power rests at either the man or the woman at different seasons in the marriage. So he says before marriage, by default, power rests with the woman because it's the woman who says yes to the proposal. If she doesn't say yes, there's no marriage happening.
There's no marriage. Yeah.
It's the woman who is chosen.
Yes.
If she rejects the selection, marriage is not happening. So
Yeah.
power rests with her.
Yeah.
And for example, in a conservative circle like the Christian faith, you
Yeah.
would have now the man waiting for sex until marriage
Yes.
with the woman. So the woman also holds that amount of power.
Yeah.
And when they get married, power shifts to the man. Why does that power shift to the man? Because women view marriage as, let me start with the men. Men view marriage as the end of a very long marathon.
Yeah.
We've
We've been on a chase.
We're on a chase.
Yes.
Finally, I've got it. I now have, and especially in Africa,
Yeah.
you know, I'm now a married man.
Yes.
You're not just a man, I'm a
It's a
married
status
man.
thing.
You know those silent rites of passages,
Yes.
Umeoa, umejenga, uko na watoto.
Yes.
You know, you like umeoa. That's a
Yes.
big one.
It's a big one.
I'm there. I've arrived.
So
Relax.
being married is a status thing.
It's a
In
status.
our context.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So women feel the difference because women view marriage as the start of a long marathon.
So for Jamas, we are finishing the chase.
Women sprint off.
So if you're at the beginning of a marathon, that's where women are at marriage.
Shoot.
Yes.
And women feel the distance. They feel like, why aren't we going out as much?
Yeah.
Why aren't we investing as much? This husband 1.0 is a downgrade from boyfriend 2.0, you know? And they kind of like, you know what? And women are giving their best. You know, they are doing lavish dinners. They are cooking lasagna.
A woman wants to go out. She wants to go for things together.
Events, be seen together, dress up.
For
the man is like,
relax.
Relax, you know?
Yeah.
So Gary Thomas says the power shifts again when they get their first child. And he begs to stereotype because not all marriages go through this.
So this is just a generalization.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the first child comes and they say power shifts the woman because now the woman focuses all her attention, her energy towards raising this child.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, she's never been a mom before. How do I take care of a baby? And the husband feels the difference. I'm not getting as much attention as before. Food is not ready at the right time as before. The microwave is my friend nowadays more than usual.
Mm-hmm.
And he feels like, since this firstborn child came, I've been denied some attention. And he says many husbands don't admit it, but there's a silent enmity between husbands and their firstborn children because their firstborn children came and took their place.
You can't fight that too.
Yeah. And so power has moved to the woman. And you see, at that point, she's a new mom. You know, intimacy is not as much. So the man feels disenfranchised. And he says through the marriage, power keeps shifting. Second child comes. Wife gets a very expensive, a very well-paying job. Husband gets a promotion. So power keeps shifting. He says marriages break because whoever has the power abuses the power. They use their power against the other person. And especially in light of previous seasons. In the previous season, when you had the power, you are not nice to me. So I'm going to withhold. And that's a consumer mindset. What's in it for me? But he says in a covenant mindset, you share the power. You say, hey, I'm the one bringing in a bulk of the income. I'm going to sort out most of the bills in the house because it is our house. But if I say, hey, you know what? When we got married, I was doing 50% of the bills. Now I've gotten more money. I'm still doing 50% of the bills. My partner is going to feel disenfranchised. And when they get their big break, they're going to come against me.
Dude, man, this guy is speaking such gems here. I'm like, you know, I should bring my wife here to be able to talk kidogo, you know, and say, where is the power now? Dude, I think something that I'm appreciating from what you are, this is wisdom that I think in many ways I don't hear much. And that self-introspection that you're challenging me, even as individual, to have about my own marriage in itself. Here's the thing. I've said this on previous podcasts, but allow me to be able to do this. Again, Mureithi Wanjao and Carol, his wife, they talk about the different stages of marriage. They talk about the dream, which is the honeymoon stage. This is where nothing can go wrong. And so you're extending grace to your partner and vice versa. You're receiving grace. But then this is not sustainable because the next stage is the drama stage. This stage is a stage that, you know, that dream, grace has ended.
The dream has come to an end.
Yes, you know, you're on E. You can't continue being this gracious. And this is where a lot of conflict happens. Then they talk about another stage, which is the discovery stage. This is where you've gone and said, you know what? We've developed healthy or hopefully healthy tools or coping mechanisms to deal with our conflict. that we're now beginning to see beyond
Mm,
our faults.
yeah.
And then lastly, there is they call it the dance state. They used to call it depth.
Yeah.
The dance state is where you're beginning now to
Yeah.
walk in sync with that person and
Mhm.
experiencing that.
Mm.
My theory is you actually experience all these stages throughout your marriage journey.
Aha.
But another observation is I think there's another stage that we don't talk about,
Uh-huh.
and that is the stage of disillusionment.
Wow.
It comes between the drama stage and the discovery stage.
Yes, yes. Between the chaos of the maturation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it
Mhm.
is a long, how would I say? It's a huge
Yeah.
season and stage that I'm not sure we are able to unpack
And I
yet.
agree with you because any it's always darkest before dawn.
Mhm.
It's always before you get to the maturation step
Mhm.
of anything, there's always a lot of, I mean, the kernel must die when it gets into the,
Exactly.
so there's that death is disillusion, is
It's
disillusionment.
disillusionment. You
Yeah.
begin to ask yourself,
Yeah.
why did
Yeah.
I get married?
Yes.
Why didn't I pick so and so
Yeah.
instead of this?
Yes.
Would things have been better with this person as opposed to that one?
My generation throws in the towel at that point.
Yes.
We throw in the towel. And I think we need to encourage young men and young women out there that hold on. In fact, statistically, it's been shown that if you go through the drama stage, I didn't even know it's called the drama stage. You've given it a name right
Yes.
now. I was reading still on Keller's book. He says that it has been shown statistically that when couples hit that chaotic stage,
Yeah.
if they hold on for 3 years, the chances of divorce infinitely go down.
Mhm.
Infinitely.
So there's a harder stage, which is the disillusionment.
Yeah.
There's no drama.
Yeah.
But I think this is what many of us Gen Xers and the generation again end up just staying.
Yes.
We're like, this is my partner. She's not going to change. He's not going to change. This is it.
It
And
is
we
what
just,
it is.
it is what it is. This is our life. This is our lot in life. And we're just going to live it like this.
I'll
We
take
spent
it.
so much investing in this. So to go and let's just chill.
To start, what's your favorite color?
Let me just chill with this. And unfortunately,
Yeah.
this is where many people just settle. They don't know there's a stage of discovery and even a much sweeter stage called the dance. This is where,
And I love that. Oh
Yes.
man, I love that, Goy, because you're painting hope.
yes,
You're telling us that we can push through. We can push through. We can work on our marriages. We can sacrifice.
Mhm.
You know, we don't have to be defined by the current state of affairs. You know,
And,
we
and,
can.
and I say this knowing that, man, even my own marriage,
Yeah.
man, we have had our challenges
Yeah.
itself. We've
Yeah.
had our challenges.
You and me both. Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, I'll tell you, I'm navigating through this disillusionment stage, and bro, it's a difficult stage because in the place that you can't point out that so and so did something different or something bad. It's just being able to recognize this is who we are.
Yes.
We are messed up, desperately flawed, and we need to be able to choose every day to say, I will work on it. I
Yeah.
will show up. And
Yeah.
the hard thing here in the disillusionment stage is showing up.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll be
Yeah.
honest with you about
Yeah.
that. What do we need to unlearn? Maybe in our closing thing, what do we need to unlearn about marriage?
Yeah.
And relearn.
I think we need to unlearn. I think we've been pummeled with the idea that because our parents did not have ideal marriages, that there's nothing good to learn from them. I think we need to unlearn that. I think we need to take a humble posture
Yeah.
and actually say there are things I can learn from dad. There are things I can learn from mom. They may not have had the ideal marriage, but there are things that went right with them. And there's a wisdom that they possess. I may not see it, but just sit down with your parents and talk to them. You may be shocked how they could enrich your life despite them not having the Cinderella charming fairy tale that you desire. I think we also need to um, learn that whatever you invest in appreciates. So if you put in effort to work on your marriage, it will grow in value in your eyes. So we know the traditional saying, you reap what you sow, right? I like to take that and just spice it up with a few other truths. Not only do you reap what you sow, you also reap where you sow. So if you sow in your marriage, that is where you will reap.
So what you're trying to say me, just let me hold it. If I sow in my job
Yeah,
or in my work,
that is where you reap.
that I will reap there.
And your heart will go there.
Yes.
Because where your
If,
treasure is, your heart will be.
if I sow in my parenting,
Yeah,
I will be able to see that in my kids.
exactly.
But sometimes we do these things at the expense of our marriage.
Yeah. So we say marriage seminars are too expensive.
Yeah.
But a weekend out spending double the money is
Yeah.
not expensive.
Dang.
You get
Ebu,
yeah,
say it again.
Yeah.
We want to go for a vacation.
You want to go for a vacation. Cindy,
We want to,
you want to buy an iPhone.
Yes.
Okay. An iPhone will cost you 10 times, 15 times more.
150K.
More than what a marriage seminar would cost you.
Yes.
And the marriage seminar could be life transformative.
Wow.
What do we say? Wanataka pesa zetu.
Yeah.
What are you doing? You're defrauding yourself. And because you don't invest in your marriage, it's no wonder that it is not appealing to you.
And that's not to say that a marriage seminar and all that is the panacea.
That's just an example.
Helps. It's a tool. It gives us tools to be able to make our marriage
And that's
better.
an example. It could be buying a book, listening to podcasts. There's an investment. Tune in to Kahawa Nagoi.
There you go. Yeah. Or spending time with a couple that you admire. Yes.
You reap where you sow.
Okay.
Number 3, you reap after you sow.
Wow.
You never reap as you sow. So I think we need to unlearn that reaping does not happen instantaneously. Millennials, you want it instantly. I sent my application, I get the results instantly. No, in life, you reap after you sow. You have to wait for the season, all right, to come to an end. And then fourthly, you reap more than you sow. If you plant one kernel of maize, just one, I grew up in a farm. If you plant one grain of maize, do you know it comes up with like 3 cobs? Do you know a cob could have 100 seeds? So you're talking about 300 seeds. Those are 300 maize plants. That is infinitely more than the one seed. You reap more than you sow. And so if you do invest, I think you will have exceedingly abundantly above beyond what you ask or think. You could have a taste of heaven on earth if you are patient for the harvest.
Dude, man, I'm out of time. But I have to have you back more on talking about this particular thing. I wish you well.
Thank you.
In your marriage with Watuli.
Thank you.
Please do say hello for me.
I will.
And just do me one favor. I mean, is there hope for marriage?
Lots of hope.
Please tell those guys.
There's lots of hope.
Briefly, this is your parting shot.
The parting shot.
Yes.
Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but hope fulfilled is a tree of life, the Bible says. The tree of life is waiting out for you. Just reach out. Attempt it. There are too many people saying it can't be done. Let it be interrupted by those who are doing it. Your marriage will be different. Yeah.
Dude, man, you've spoken like a true sage right there. I appreciate you and thank you for coming. Let me make a plug about your book. Your book is called Basics.
Yes.
It's on specifically, what is it?
So you can get Basics on our website. That's penstrokes.co.ke.
On penstrokes.co.ke. This is a book that is about marriage.
Yes, it will help you set the right foundations to marry well. And even for those who are married, it will just help you see where have we gone wrong, where can we, rekebisha here.
Where can I get that book if I want it?
So you can get it on our website for one.
Penstrokes.co.ke. Pen as in kalamu.
Pen. Yes. Then strokes like viboko.
Yes. Yes.
Strokes.co.ke.
Okay.
When you go there, you'll see a place you can get. You can get it on Amazon.com.
Yeah.
Okay. You can also get it from Theowell Libraries.
Theowell.
Yeah,
I know Theowell.
You know Theowell?
Yes.
They're along Kiambu Road.
Yes.
Okay. You can also get it from Ufungamano House Bookshop.
Yeah.
So those are some of the places in which you can get the book.
Thank you very much.
Asante.
Once again, guys, get him at penstrokes.co.ke and you could get his book. We've been talking to Ernest Wamboye right here on Kaona Gowi. We're going to be talking more. Tell a friend to subscribe right there, a notification button. Peace. We're out.